Mayor. At this time, I call the Burke County Planning meeting to order. Mr. Schuler.
Yes, sir. First of all, I'd like to take a moment of silence for our member who passed away last week. Steve Pierce, who lost his battle with cancer, and we'll give just a moment of silence and think about him and his family. Thank you. First order of business is roll call. Mr. Pearman. Here. Mr. Watson. Here. Mr. Arney. Ms. Culler.
Present.
Mr. Jenkins.
Here.
Dr. Acuff called the dean of the medical center needed him to, or the college needed him to handle a meeting for him, so he should be here in a few minutes. Ms. Deeds.
Present.
Ms. Collins.
Here.
Mr. Smith.
Here.
And Mr. Lyons. Here. Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum, sir. Next is the adoption of the agenda. There's a couple of changes we need to do on the agenda. Item number 6 will not be discussed today. Education session will not be discussed today because we didn't get a hold of the Board of Zoning Appeals, and I apologize for that education session in February.
Motion to accept.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussions? None noted. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Mr. Chairman, that is unanimous. Next is the approval of November 2019 meeting minutes. Copy is the next page behind.
Motion to accept.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Culler. Seconded by Mr. Watson. Any discussion? None noted. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Mr. Chairman, that is unanimous. Thank you, sir. I thought the president would come in now for a second. But anyways. Next is discussion item number 4, the Code Bridge Road, Code Bridge Lane, and Code Den Lane in the area of Butler. I met with the Highway Committee, myself and Ms. Culler. We went over the videos. The Highway Committee made the motion to send it back to us for discussion. I think it's as plain as nose on your face. If we want to go in and take a field trip and drive that, we can. If not, the staff suggests that we stay with our original motion and our original letter to the highway superintendent.
What was there to discuss? What did they not agree with?
Basically, the individuals up in that area don't want to change the pattern that they drive on. They want to drive two-way traffic all the way through all those roads.
One way going.
Yes.
That one, what house mile was that, 115?
One, if I'm not mistaken, 7.5 foot, 8 foot wide, one lane.
Approximately 8 feet in
After that
place.
meeting, I went up and drove. Actually, accidentally went down the wrong way.
That's because the sign was taken down.
Let's
So you would have had it right.
Most of that road.
The comment was, it's been okay for years, we know, and we watch for people, and we tried to explain to them that the traffic was going to get a lot worse at this point. And then they were saying that it was worse the way we were having to go one way as far as the bad weather. And we had a whole room full of people that night.
So I say we just state the letter we sent, that they've been put on notice, and the highway committee wants to go out and physically look at it, they can, or if we want to look at it as a planning commission, I can get a better point of view. I showed the video, they were very disrespectful, speaking, talking over the video. The situation wasn't very good for us. So, we can either do that, or we can stick to the motion, or we can just withdraw the letter if you decide to. And I'll send a letter to Mr. Cole, stating we withdraw our letter.
I'm pretty sure they've been hiring anyway.
So we'll leave it to the pleasure of the highway committee, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
With our recommendation.
So maintain our recommendation.
I think our recommendation needs to be listed somewhere in it.
I don't think we should be involved in that anyway. It'd be
That's for that. Let him be first.
So basically, this is what we want to do is form a motion, leave it up for county highway superintendent. We have a motion by Mr. Watson to allow third letter, and then seconded by Ms. Deeds. Any further discussion? Sir?
I might be mistaken, but correct me if I'm wrong. I think there's 6 that lives up there year round out of that back in there. I think there's just 6. The rest of them are just seasonal, but I think they said there are about 6 full time.
Yeah, 6 total year round, the rest of it's all seasonal. So, we have a motion. Any further discussion?
Need the motion again, please?
The motion is to
the highway department.
Just
highway
carry on.
superintendent,
Okay,
is
not
under his
the-
control with our letter, and with our letter it stands. You got that, Diane?
Yes.
Have a motion, a second, discussion ceased, all in favor say aye. All opposed, like sign. Mr. Chairman, that is unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay, now the movement month before last with the county commission to reduce the number of planning commissioners, and basically the resolution, I have a copy of it if you'd like to see. But basically what they're moving forward is the reduction of the number of county commissioners that's with on the Carter County Planning Commission, also reducing the size. This will take several years to finally come about. The first person that will be removed by this resolution will be Mr. Jenkins, which I've already discussed with him.
Is that the same?
Sir?
When is that?
Yes, sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. It'll be after our April meeting, our April timeframe, yes, sir. And then Steve Pierce was up for reappointment this year, and Ken Arney, which are both civilians and not the county commissioners, which represents the school districts. Mr. Arney represents the same school district as Mr. Jenkins is the county commissioner of. Mr. Acuff, Dr. Acuff represents Stony Creek as a county commissioner, the same as Mr. Steve Pierce. So there will be a slot open, the way I understand it. That slot will be advertised along with the other slots that will be replaced, and Mr. Arney stipulated he wanted to stay. So that will be presented to the nominating committee for brought forth to the full county commission.
All those are in April.
Yes, ma'am.
Who all are in it?
Ms. Collins, you're up, but you're the only individual we have from the 8th district.
We have to go back.
Yeah. So
I'm up in April.
you took over, what was the gentleman prior to you?
Carol.
Yeah, Bob Carroll, which you rotated. Bob Carroll took over for somebody passed away. I can't remember who it was.
Probably when he left the commission, Mr.
I can't think of his name.
Gobble.
See his face.
Mr. Gobble?
Gobble, thank you.
He didn't,
No, Gobble wasn't.
he didn't pass away.
No,
He resigned.
I don't think Mr. Gobble's passed away.
Truman?
No, Wood Richardson, because he wasn't on the planning commission.
What about Mr. Carroll?
I think it was when Mr.
Carroll
Gobble
was
resigned.
before Miss,
I thought it was
Miss
Mr.
Gobble.
Gobble resigned too, but
Yeah.
maybe not.
Carroll.
Who was, there was somebody that represented the city.
For a long time, Bill Armstrong did, probably weird.
Bill had to come off.
Oh, okay.
Because of himself, that's what it was. Heavy, Bill Rich, that's what
So, altogether, that was me, Steve Pierce's seat, basically, or whoever.
I'm losing.
That was me, Ken, Steve's seat, and
Miss Collins.
Ms. Collins.
Yes, sir.
But Kim is going to stay and Kelly will have to stay, right?
we can advertise the positions, but if they want to stay, I think it's better to keep continuity if possible. Go forward from there. Any questions on that? I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. It's basically the same law. It's just dropped it from 12, which we've been operating since for the last 2 years, it's just 11. And kept that one, sir. Okay.
What's it dropped to?
To 9,
No.
which would be the chairman of the county commission, and then one individual from each school district.
One commissioner.
One commissioner, yes, sir. So at least with 9 total.
That's what my commissioner, he's one.
Any further discussion?
Explain this again, why Kelly would be up in April. Why isn't she to finish her term?
Because her term situation was when Bill was on there, his term broke. I can't remember, I've kept a running log.
Okay.
And to keep, I have to go back and look at the history of my logs to figure it out. But hers ended in April 2020. So does Randall's, because Randall replaced
Steve Chambers.
Steve Chambers, right? So it caused a lollygag there where there was the staggering of the commission, or the planning commission, and then you fall into those slots, because if you did, you went coterminous with their election, then that eventually it's going to even up to where everybody's off at the same time. So that's why we keep it.
I'm only one out of the second district. I'm here. Yeah, I've been on one second district for about a year. I've been on to the 9s. That's what I don't know. I've seen a lot of them go and come.
So,
Already building commissioner on his term, got to be, he went off, so we didn't replace. Second district.
What did you say, Mr. Jim?
the nominating committee votes for the next people to come on, is that?
They'll be presented just like we always did.
Okay, yeah.
So this, Chris doesn't understand it too, if I could. There'll be announcement in the newspaper
Yeah.
on vacancies, then we go through the nominating process on your all's, this board's recommendation, and then to the full commission for approval. Is that
Just like God. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
That's the way it's always functioned. It just basically reduced the number,
Yeah,
You know-
I understand the resolution.
and,
I want to make sure we're still going the same process.
yeah, it doesn't change our process in any way, shape, or form. Okay. Yeah, Mickey Renfro was from that district, out where Steve's was, and he left us. Yeah, we've had a lot of coming and goings. And Mr. Hughes resigned because somebody's comment to him, and kind of made him mad, so he resigned. We lost a farmer, I guess Jerry stepped in place as a farmer. Okay, number 7 is our budget. Myself, Mr. Pierre, my assistant director, also is looking at this. We've already seen some of this that we talked about. So if you would hand those down. I apologize for the small print, but that's the way the budget comes out. And of course, this is an initial hearing on it as far as the planning commission. Now, I know some of the boards that y'all are working on, and y'all do this, but I always make it this way. The guy hired me, so perhaps Nate see me hired me. He suggested it one time, and that's why I always bring up the budget and have it all approved. Need one more, sir? Two. On your way. I apologize for that, I miscounted. All right, basically what I did, I kind of told our finance department, and we'll start with line 105, which is my line item for my pay. And I've had everything from our elected officials to our other people saying anywhere from 3 to 7.5% increase. I talked to Brad, our finance director, I explained to him I'd go to 5%, and then we'll adjust down from there. And that increases to $2,465.38. Then what I did for our original clerical personnel, that was at $11,584.79. We're removing that line item, and I split it between the 4 individuals that work in our office and work for us, our support staff. Now, Mr. Jenkins had suggested at one time for each certification a $2,500 pay raise.
I thought we could put it in form of a motion to maybe do a study. I mean, if 2,500 is what these positions deserve after doing these, advancements and taking the classes, well, then I'm not in the field, so
Right.
I don't know what it's.
Well, taking that into account, what you said, did some studies and some of the baselines that's out there right now. Building inspectors are running somewhere between 32 to almost 60 grand. The average is about 39,000. We missed that mark with it's under foreman 141, but that's actually assistant director / building inspector, which is Mr. McKay. He has all his certifications, possibilities of someone else hiring him away. But at this time, and no big money, we did give him the increase of $2,896.19. I moved that to that line item. You can get into the codes enforcements and other technical fields, which Mr. Cook is our codes enforcement officer. And everybody that's been hired in my office, minus Miss Diane, has been hired as code enforcement officers to begin with. That's a part-time position. And then they move their way on through. And Mr. Cook, Jay Cook, he's now got certification in stormwater. He also has both plumbing certifications, and eventually in the very near future, we'll have his mechanicals. So we'll have those 2 areas covered. And that is bringing in right now somewhere around 35, 36 with those disciplines in the local area. Miss Powell, Kristen, she is our stormwater coordinator. She has her certification in that, and she's moving forward to get her certification also in energy codes to assist in the inspections here in Carter County. So she's moving forward. Even with just a stormwater technician, you're looking at around $34K a year, and that's local, that's the average. That could be increased by this budget, splitting this into another $2,896.19 for her and Mr. Cook, between both of them receiving that. And that brings us to 189, which is other salaries and wages. Also, that's the money from the split from that, and increasing with the MAPR GIS GPS technician, who will also have to be cross-trained. There's a local county that's advertising right now for just a little over $40,000, and they're not getting struck too good with it. But if we brought somebody in place, we may be able to get somebody around 30. But that still will increase us more, so I looked into it, and we can request 26.5, and we'll see what we can get if we get a kid out straight out of college. Maybe groom him and get him interested in Carter County.
Would it be full-time position?
Yes, sir. With that said, the only other thing you'll see there is $299, that's the other fringe benefits, and that's money that's paid in to their retirement and also their deferred comp they do in 401K and 457s. So that's not real money to us, but that is money that is coming through us. That gives a total increase of $54,536.22. That's with all your health coverages, life insurance, medical insurance, dental insurance, all the benefits and the compensation of employment has to be paid out of that line item. Coming back down into the non-salary line items, our advertising is running pretty good right now. We haven't had very many major things to do, advertising wise, so we're in pretty good shape there. I still think we need to leave it at 200 in case there's a master rezone concept or something we need to put on advertising that covers. The next is communications. Unfortunately, the individuals that work for us are always, they love those little gadget phones. Hold them up first, we'll see on your gadget phone. Don't reach out to in Carter County, but you know, you can take this good old Sprint, and it's just got just a hair bit more. They won't be able to get on the internet.
No, it don't.
And I can get out there.
My phone works a whole lot of places yours don't.
Well, the whole thing about it is I'm hearing whining and crying from some of them, and they're wanting phones for the vehicles, and we have the money already allotted in there. And we're gonna move forward to having inspector phones into each of the vehicles.
Could, phones,
Sir,
phones.
it's no increase, it's what
I
we
mean,
get.
it's fine, but, I mean, wouldn't
But that will be with the,
could we piggyback off a radio system and that would be way more reliable if needed? No, I mean, I'm just.
the only thing about it is if, you know, for instance, if somebody's getting ready to have a stop work order or something, it's gonna be out on the whole.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
You see what I'm saying? There's some, or we're doing something and say Mel wants to know what's at this address and what we pull up on the tax card.
The main thing is a tablet,
Oh,
because when you try to look at a map on the phone, when you're sitting on top of the mountain, and then to have the permits and everything on it,
It needs a lot of, so you have to call back and forth. Also requesting that we look back into going back to First Tennessee Development District. Highly suggested that we move forward back to that. So I ain't placed the 14.5 on that. If the county commission request still wants us to go that way. Memberships and dues. Used to, I had all the memberships and dues. Now we have individuals that are self-motivated moving forward, and there's a lot of continuous education that has to be done. There has to be memberships into like the National Stormwater Program and things of this nature, International Code Council, where I've got multiple inspectors. They need to have their own abilities to be into those programs and those joints. So that's where we came into the memberships and dues line 320, and we brought it up to $5 grand. Right now we're at 24.35 this year, actually.
Chris, I have a question if I could, please, sir.
I'm listening.
Back up to the 14.5 line item,
Yes, sir.
contractor, government agencies. Is that where the bonus came into play last year?
No, sir.
It wasn't, okay, thank you.
No, the bonus comes out of salary line.
why didn't we go with TC, First District last year?
We didn't.
Well, we decided not to because they kept changing individuals on us and not keeping any,
same person.
keep any convenience.
So, redheaded to girls.
Yeah. So, but to answer that question, that, the bonus / payment came out of a salary line item. Mr. Individual that handles our finances is the one that moved to the bonus line.
Yeah, I remember.
Incorrect.
Discussion.
Yes, sir.
I'm not trying to dig up bones, okay?
All right. The next group, and a lot of this stuff is broke down now, and I understand what Brad, our finance director, is trying to do with the breakdowns of everything. When we get into like legal notices, court costs, things of that nature, we're staying around $500. Maintenance agreements, GIS, that's our contract with Ezra for our ArcGIS and other programs that we utilize on GIS. When you come into the $5,100 for the stormwater program, that's money that we have to pay the state of Tennessee. Not only is it an unfunded mandate, we fund them for that unfunded mandate that we take. Of course, we bring in a lot of good information, and quite a bit of money's in on the stormwater program. Service equipment, I didn't add anything to it. We got new vehicles, everything's good to go there. Our office equipment right now is in pretty good shape. Very limited on it, I went zero on it. I did leave $1,500 in for service of vehicles. We still have 2 vehicles that are older vehicles that we'll be utilizing. Hopefully we won't have to utilize that in the next situation. Go into 347 pest control. That's one of the things that used to come out of the courthouse funds. Now it's coming out of our funds. And it looks like 408 is what's going to top that off. We're looking at our postal charges. We usually have 1,500. I dropped that down to 1,000. And that gives a decrease of $500. Our rentals is our copier. And that stays around the same, plus or minus a little bit because of the amount of toner or something. You know, we print everything black and white unless it's something specific like today that you need to see, or if it's a specific photo or something that the judge will have to see. We try to print those out of color. Travel, like I said, you know, we have individuals now that are doing all these extra tasks that used to all fall on me or Mel. And it's better for Carter County in the long run, so it did increase some. And originally I amended that out of the electrical permits remittance that our financial director tried to do with $60,000. And I brought that down to 3710 or 37,100.
Hold on just a second.
Yes, ma'am.
Let's go back to travel.
Yeah, I'm still on travel, that's what I was trying to explain. Travel is, that's our hotels,
I
motels.
got you, but you've got 9,100 to 12,000 with a difference of 10,900. What's the deal right there?
Look at your increase amount, that doesn't add
That
up.
doesn't add up right. I'm sorry, something screwed up on that.
See, I'm already saving money right now.
Yeah, just like that.
I had it circled over here too.
I don't know what.
You had 91, you went to 12, and you said it was an increase of 10,900, there was no way.
No, that doesn't
Must
work.
be 19.
Should be
Thank you.
It should be, yeah, 19,
29.
yeah, 29, well, yeah, just,
Okay, and that's where we're saying, thank you, Ms. Collins. See, I did.
they changed bottom mode too, I don't know.
Yeah, it will change it largely. Then go to remittance for revenue, 358-47, that's our electrical permits. That's money that comes in, we send the money to Nashville, it's just rotary money that comes through that we have to collect it, and it has to stay in our budget. I did drop that down 1,600 or 16,500 to be more realistic where we should be. Also, the state's changed how we're doing that, so we're not really sure this trial period between now and July where we'll stand. Actually went into effect today, Kristen? Yesterday.
It started yesterday,
Started yesterday.
so that'll go down.
Right. 358.59 on storm well, water. That is our actual operation of the program that we have to also deal with the state on, and that's around $5,000 program that we're utilizing there. Permits and control, we need about $4,000 to maybe upgrade the software in the near future, and we may look at that. Penalties, there's nothing there. Gasoline, I left it at $3,500. We've been pretty sparingly with that. We try to do multiple looks when we go out, so it works out well. One of the situations that you'll see on port pit and tires and tubes, that is actually used to be under the line item for vehicle maintenance, and that went in. Vehicle maintenance is $531. That's what it costs to put the tires on that last vehicle. And I apologize, I jumped our office supplies. At that $250, that was lining up. Drop below there, premiums on surety bonds. According to Mr. Burke, we don't have to maintain a bond, we're self-insured. So my bond, I haven't utilized it the last 3 years. Vehicles, insurance, and equipment insurance. According to Mr. Burke, 1176.32 is where it should be, and that's where we're at right now. That's what I carried over workman's comp, which used to be paid through the other line items, is $311.48, and that's where I maintain it. Staff development in service, this is classes, continuing education that individuals go to, even myself have to go to on some of the things that I deal with. And we get in our GIS, we used to have 14,000 in there. We've got most of our programs and our updates, so we're looking around 5,500 to maintain it and keep it going. Then you look at also the TDEC, dealing with them on the stormwater and all this MS4, it keeps compiling, and look at 3550 to maintain that. Motor vehicles, nothing in that line item, we just received 2 new vehicles not too long ago. And then our office equipment, that's our rental with our, that's our office equipment, dealing with printers, computers and things of that nature. I'm willing to discuss this and go from there. And Ms. Collins, thank you for trying.
That would change the total at the bottom, but we'll do that.
Yes, ma'am.
So the difference in between maintenance agreements, GIS, and other charges, GIS, what's the?
You have Esri, which you have to pay the maintenance fee to. Then you have ArcGIS, which are dealing with maintenance fee. Then we use also a GeoSync, and that is another maintenance. So you've got multiple programs you're paying maintenance fees for. Yes, sir.
Yes. I was going to ask about the Masson property. I saw in the paper. What's our problem with the Masson property? Condemnation or something?
That's a different piece of property that,
Oh, well, wasn't that part?
no, sir, they've got multiple properties.
Okay, I just
Yeah.
wondered, because this stuff hit me, I thought,
No, they have multiple pieces of property throughout the county and the city. Yes, sir. I think it's actually the property we own down here, near Powell's and all that.
Okay.
Yeah.
we'll be on the ingress.
You know, since I stepped back from assisting on that, the only thing I know is it has been, survey work's been done out there. That's all I've noticed. I haven't seen anything on PDOT's website or anywhere where the grant's been even requested yet, so you'll have to ask Mr. Hartman on that, sir. I apologize. I wish I could give you no answer.
Let's go back up to dues and memberships.
Yes, ma'am.
What's the zoned out? Why are we increasing that again?
Okay, International Code Council, they require and request, they like to see every one of their inspectors being a member of that group. So Jay will be a member, Jay and Mel are both members now, right? Yeah. I have a main membership there where we buy our information and stuff of that nature. Chris will soon be there. That's one of the groups. Then you got Tennessee Association of Stormwater Professionals. We used to maintain at least 4 seats in, and it just.
Upper East Tennessee Building Officials Association, Tennessee Building Officials Association.
Already members of this?
Right, and this is just continuation of our memberships.
Well, since 2019-20, your actual was 2,435, and we're jumping to 5,000.
Well, there's quite a few things we're not members that
That's what I'm asking.
because we're county government, we should have been members of years ago.
Okay, That's what I'm
are
asking.
things that we've lacked. Is
The way you
like,
described it, you were already members that the.
there was things that like, Jim Church they used to work for us, and Mr. Gooch, he used to work for us. They were members of it, and we just, a lot got to go away, so.
So this is new membership.
Right, renew and renew memberships to new employees.
Okay.
I see the wheels starting to come off.
I was just getting back to the budget last year with Chris. How can we make sure that we don't get in the mess like we did last year? In terms of the last 6 months, I'm concerned that we don't go back there.
I don't see a problem with it. I'm not going to, and you all won't vote to put me in a position like that again.
Right.
Not only the county commission did it, but also the planning commission set us in a position like that. And, you know, the budget was approved as it was approved, and during that whole motion, we would send it forward, and the motion was made. And Mr. Acuff made the motion and brought it forward to pay that. Now, the reason it was paid as a bonus was because that's what came out of finance to pay it as a bonus. Even though the letter does not request a bonus. So, the agreement was, and you may not be privy, and I hadn't went through all because you were sick time through your surgeries and stuff. But the original deal was that the mayor and the chairman of the planning commission would set the salaries. We did a case study, and we went through all of it. We took the means, then we dropped it another $2,500. That was improved. That's why I came up with that weird number. That's the time that we spent, you know, doing that. You know, still we got Sylvester Cochran. We saved the Snap-on deal. We've got American Steel Stamp. It looks like they're getting ready to come in up there. So
I know where the commission messed up.
yeah.
By putting in that role to start with. That's what you're saying.
Well, no, I don't think we messed up because we did what we needed to accomplish. It's just they didn't pay us.
I understand. And we finally got that settled, I think, at the last
Yeah.
commission meeting after I.
Oh, yeah, you left.
Yeah.
Every time that's the first second, yeah. You left, and you there for a while.
Ms. Woodward.
Yeah.
So I think that's behind us, right?
Yeah, everything should be behind now.
Everything except Mr. Pierman.
And it's still, the movement that we made was what the motion that Mr. Acuff made. Yeah. And Mr. Pierman, and the thing about it is, I cannot give myself a pay raise. It has to come from my chairman.
I understand.
Look at all.
Wait a
Go
minute.
ahead.
Let me finish.
Okay.
What I'm trying to do is say, how can we avoid what we went through last year in this process? And I understand how it happened. Commission
won't let
voted,
that happen.
the commission voted, and then Mr. Pierman wrote a letter to Mr. Burke to approve the bonus.
No,
You should have been paid.
paid.
Approve the payment. That was a mistake.
No, the bonus was the mistake. It was
The
the
bonus-
correct way it was wrote up. The bonus was the mistake.
What I'm trying to ask is how can we avoid that this coming year?
Not
Is
asking,
that a risk?
not asking him to do any other extra jobs.
That's exactly what I'm
Exactly right.
That's what I'm trying to hear.
And you know, the whole thing about it is I've done multiple extra things for
I know
Clark
you-
County my whole career here.
I know.
And I've never complained, but I'll tell you what, and I've kicked my own butt many times for doing things that I shouldn't have,
Going beyond the call of duty.
beyond the call of duty.
I know that.
And I thought once the county commission agreed to it, but then when Chelsea gets it apart, and you got individuals that work for the county that sit on different committees, multiples, and then Chelsea and things get blown out of proportion, and then mistakes made in other offices that I can't fix, that was his deal.
There were mistakes made here.
No, I don't think there was a mistake made
The
here.
other was, Mr. Pierman's letter was a mistake.
I don't think
So it went
so.
straight to the Brad Burke.
That's exactly right.
So based on, let me finish.
Go ahead.
Based on that, I'm going to respectfully ask that Mr. Pierman step aside as chair. So that all this mess will be behind us.
It's already behind us.
It's already behind us, right?
No, it isn't. No, it isn't.
Well, you're the only one that it's not behind.
Well, that's why I'm
I
saying
mean,
a
I have a
suggestion.
problem with it too.
That's why I'm saying a suggestion.
Then you should have said something. Grant.
I'm sitting right here and I'm saying
But
that
the
me
thing about it
and
is, what Jerry did as chairman, he has done multiple times, because I can't increase my pay even if the county commission votes on it, now hear me out, until he submits the letter saying that I can't increase my pay, but I can my employees, the other 4
Right, you
individuals.
have that authority, I understand that.
Right.
But what I'm trying to say is, let's don't go back down that road again with a letter to Brad Burke from the chairman. That should have been discussed in this.
It was discussed, and the motion was made, and the motion was, that's what you did.
It was approved for Jerry Perrin to write a letter to Brad Burke.
It was approved for the pay,
Where are
yes.
those minutes? That's what I'm looking for.
It was, you don't have those copies. I gave up multiple copies to multiple
Well,
county.
and listen, I'm finished. All I wanted to do is because I've had numerous calls and 3 visits to my house saying to really clean this mess up and clean it thoroughly, ask Mr. Pearman if he was, in a respectful way, step down his chair and let's move forward with the vice chair or a new chair. So I've asked respectfully. I know a motion would never have been approved. I know that. There's no way that motion would. If I make a motion,
They were here, the only person that didn't vote for it was Steve Peters, because he was confused.
I'm talking about the chair. If I make a motion to remove or replace Mr. Pearman based on that letter or based on Mr. Pearman's performance in this commission the last year that I sat on it. If I made that motion, it would probably not even get a second. I've got 6 months. So that's why I respectfully ask. And he hasn't responded yet. You have.
But the director in here, he should read that and said, hey, Mr. Pearman cannot approve it. It has to come from finance and the budget.
I agree with you.
Man, the thing about that was, we also had the county attorney look at it, and he said, no, it does not have to, because it is coming out of payroll. Not bonus, it was coming out of payroll. We never had a bonus line until this past year.
The county attorney has also tried to talk to Mr. Pearman about just exactly what I brought up.
Well, you can make that motion now if you
No,
want to.
I don't intend to make that motion. Because it's not going to go anywhere.
Well, Jerry, respectfully asking that you step aside.
I'm step aside. That make you happy, but I think you're wrong. Because I sent it to them, and he won. He should have had sense enough. He's the head of that office. He should have said, hey, this budget, it's going to go on the budget.
I agree with you. He answers to the Financial Management Committee chair.
And that's the gentleman sitting
That's the gentleman
right
right here, and I think he's probably.
They should have, but he should pass it on to them and brought it up in the budget meeting.
And he confessed in front of the full commission that he screwed up by changing that to a bonus instead of a payment.
He did do that. He stood up and said, I made a mistake. I'm sorry. It'll never happen again.
It's not this man's fault.
And it's not his fault, it's not my fault.
The letter.
Let us know. Because I said to him, he should take it to the finance management and the budget.
That's good. I'm good.
I request the floor for 30 seconds. What I say, or what my opinion is and how I feel about it, is the letter did not represent this full board. And that's what I'm upset about. The letter says the planning commission request. I don't never remember voting on that.
Because you left, Randall, you left that meeting. You weren't here. Now, I've explained that to about 4 commissioners on that too, that you left. And Ray was sick. He just got his back surgery or whatever, I can't remember what it was. And you left during that meeting. And the motion was made, our tables was set up on these right
I
here.
remember the meeting very well.
So,
I just don't remember seeing it in the minutes either. And I just don't want to be misrepresented and under the leadership if it's going to be false like that.
it was a fault.
We voted on it.
If the majority votes on it and it passes, then it comes from the planning commission. We can't say the majority less so-and-so and so-and-so.
I've yet to see the minutes that says this.
The minutes.
I've yet to see that sentence in whatever minutes saying that we voted to do what this letter says. That's all.
That was a motion made, and that was the motion that was made through that, and it's very vague, and that's something else that, to answer Mr. Lyons, yeah, from now on, I have no problem with that.
That's fine.
I have no problem with having it very strict,
Very detailed
especially where it comes to financial management.
processes.
I'm the one second the motion. Robert, pretty sure.
You are
Comes back to that item, the full commission.
not making a motion, you seconded it. And then Steve Pierce had questions on it, he still took it. Of course, he was on a lot of, pain and things that, God bless his soul.
He's the one that's good.
Yeah. And there was multitudes of individuals in here, so.
You said earlier.
But I understand what you're saying, Ray, and Mr. Lyons, and I understand what you're saying.
Praise God.
But I'm not gonna put you guys back in that situation ever, please. I'm
we should-
gonna
and we
put the mayor in the
should-
situation I put him in. The only thing I was here to do was help, and I've done it multiple times. Been promised multiple things, and been related to every time.
Okay,
And
so-
at this time, you know, the county commission, you all did put that over in my life.
And I begged the county commission that night to put a number on it.
Right.
I begged them.
And they put it to allow him to figure it out and go forward. And if you remember, I brought it back to the full planning commission before we moved ahead from there. So, I think a lot of it, and like I wanted to go down, which 6.5 dozen others, I live in the state of turmoil in this county anyways. But, no matter what, you either love me or you hate me, there's no in between, and I understand that totally. Don't look surprised, Brian. But, the whole situation, hey, you dropped something. The whole situation is I don't mind doing my job, and I don't mind helping others to assist them in making things happen. But the day of the free plow horse is gone. And this just proved all this rigmarole after all that vote and the money that was brought in over the past few years. And somebody, a county commissioner looking at me, who's also works for a government agency, looks at me and says, well, you got 2 new vehicles. Yeah, we brought in, what, $284,000 that year in building permits? I think my people deserve to drive something that's not a
And
raffle.
that money goes to the general fund, and we don't see a dime of
Yeah, our money goes straight to the general fund.
It's like every other fee office pretty much.
it. No, we're not a fee office, we are a permit office. If we don't have the people in the office qualified to do the job, the money doesn't come in.
Right.
Those fee offices do nothing but they take money for a tax bill. I go out and do inspections, Jay goes out and does inspections, Kristen goes out and does
My guys
inspections.
are.
We do not get paid for those.
My people are white collar, blue collar, they have a certain trade and multiple trades that they deal in, and they have to, yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
I've been taking office in. I guess I kind of got all this started when I took office. I thought it was a good move. Put it in planning office, because we did so much in the first few months we were here. I went and Snap-on done me several things, and I admit I'm not an economic development person.
And we still have good things coming because of what we did in those first few months.
But I'm learning about the economic development. I can get out and work a little bit too, but, you have to finalize the plans and everything, but, we still got the people up in the lake and Snap-on there. I kind of asked for your help again with, and you did, and I appreciate it, and I guess I was the start of all this because I thought I still think it's a good thing, and, economic development was over there. I still think it'd be a good thing.
When I have planners and professional people in counties, not only in Tennessee, but also in North and South Carolina and Georgia, saying, hey, man, you guys are starting to make progress again. And all of a sudden this crap goes on. And I say crap because a lot of it was personal endeavors and things of that nature, and stabbing jacks, as I like to call it. But neither here nor there, those individuals, you see them again somewhere and they say, wow, they crucified me again, son. I said, yeah. I feel sorry.
But my intentions were good,
your attention was good, and we were making things happen.
Carter County.
You gotta admit, I mean, our meeting up there, that laid there for 3 years, 3.5 weeks, right, we had it done.
I agree with Chris, I agree with you taking on the responsibility, which you should never have done.
Well, I did
But
mine.
I also agree that we should have paid you. Anybody that does work should be paid. I agree totally with that. What I don't agree with is the process that took place to get that paid. I don't agree with that. And I have to answer to the people just like you do, in terms of telephone calls. Is this behind y'all now after the last meeting? I thought it was, and then I started getting calls about the chairman.
Well, think about it too, in April, we had.
And all of you have been here for a long time, maybe that's what it's all about, I don't know.
Well, the thing about it is, we have an election of seats in April. So, I mean, you can do that, or Jerry decided he wanted to step
I'm
down.
not stepping down.
How long have you been chair?
Since 97?
97?
No, I'm
No,
chair.
I'm chairman, I've been on since 97.
How long have you
Been
been
chairman
chair?
since 08. No, 12.
12 years?
He took,
It's 2012.
see, I was chairman, he took Pierce's place.
But I don't think I made a mistake because I was into there, the nation, to finance and the budget. My fault.
Little over.
I don't like to be accused.
He admitted wrong.
Did you ever think
He admitted that he
What
did,
are you wrong?
Did you
but
ever
you did no wrong.
Huh?
You did nothing.
I didn't do nothing, no budget, I think you were brother.
I'll tell you right now, I'll go with the great fight on that one. Everything that was done up front, legal, it was done correctly. Mr. Washington.
You asked me to sit down.
No,
I'll talk to you in a few minutes.
No, talk to me now.
I don't appreciate you asking me if I would step down a while ago.
This is business in the commission, isn't it?
That's right,
Okay, that's where we'll do the business,
that's
right?
right. Where else?
And you won't talk to me anywhere else.
Who?
And
I will,
about this,
about anything. If this comes to planning, I will talk to you about it.
right here in this meeting is where you take business, take care of business. Right?
Yes.
Okay, talk to me.
Get it.
Mr. Watson.
I'm forgetting you. I've already said you, I'm forgetting.
Mr. Watson.
I did what I was told.
I did what I had to do.
Okay. We're good.
Mr. Watson.
this, you don't realize this, Chris Chewer's office is the second best money maker in Carter County. Randall Lewis's office brings in more than him, and he's set. And why we come in here and gripe, we have this with the other mayor all the time, he was griping. You people joined in with him in this.
No, we people didn't join in with you.
Most of you did.
No, we didn't.
Oh, yes, I
No,
said.
me, I'm doing what the people elected me to do.
You
That's
listen,
right.
you listen to him a whole lot too.
The first year and a half I did, but I learned better, didn't I?
You
Just
did.
like I'm telling you guys.
Randall went along with it, and the other old guy, whoever he was, went
This
along.
is, that's past as far as
Yeah,
I'm
that's-
concerned.
Let's move on. Let's move on.
Our new mayor.
Hey, Mr. Rapp, let's move on.
This new mayor has done a good job. He's like I said, he's a learner. Everybody, you have to learn this when you're doing it. Don't you? Did you know anything about it?
No, sir.
Okay.
Rapp, let's move on.
All right, we still have the budget we discussed. Can we move forward with this?
Make a motion that you take the budget once the adjustments are made for
Yes,
some
ma'am.
mistakes through the finance office.
Second.
I have a motion by Mrs. Sonia Keller, seconded by Mr. Ray Lyons. Any further discussion upon it? The motion is, once the correction is made, especially down into the area of the $10,900 to fix that, and lower the percentage and move forward as such. Any further questions?
Do you think that we'll be in line with their raises once this pay study comes back? I want to make sure they get.
Well,
Post study won't be done with this.
pay study won't be done by July, I don't think so, are you correct? The pay study won't be done.
Okay.
That's why I did not account for that in this.
I absolutely want to see everything that they do, they get paid for. So if they go out and get another endorsement, I think this planning committee should have something wrote up saying, this is a stepping stone. This is what you get when you get this. This is what you get when you get this. This is what you get when you get. So it's on paper. And we know, there's no question. There's no question. I mean, that's how every personal business I've been in since I was 16 years old is laid out. This is your pay guide, this is your pay scale. You go get this endorsement, you get this much money. You go get this endorsement, you get this much money. That way there's no question, it's black and white, there's no gray, and there's no fussing, and then they know what they're working for.
How are you gonna budget for that?
Well, I mean, you know what classes you're all gonna take this year, pretty much, maybe? Yeah, a good
There's a
idea.
good chance I could have 4 more certification bands this year,
So
Bill, 2
if
or
you
3,
give him
Chris, 2
$2,500 for
or
every
3.
But then we have 2 other assistant directors that are making $49,000, that are making the same amount of money that the planning director makes. So there is no standard over the county, and the planning, and the planning department, which is
They
the
are
most
working on
important.
that, are we not?
But I've heard that for 3 years. Since the year before I got certified, I was told you'll get a pay raise next year. We're on 3 years, I haven't gotten the pay raise to be building inspector, to be floodplain manager, to be stormwater certified, because every time a budget gets submitted, they beat the hell out of the planning department's
Man, I'm
budget.
not fighting you, I'm fighting for you right here. I want to see more. Is there enough in there? Could we put a little bit more in there if they get more certifications this year?
A lot more than a little.
Be what?
They said it's made into a study of that.
Well, we don't have, I mean, we met.
Sullivan County has advertised
For
for,
years,
No,
but you know what I'm
I
saying?
maintained all my certifications, and I kept losing people to
I understand. I didn't say
Jonesboro, Washington County, and such. Elizabeth, that trailer.
Sullivan County has a mapper job advertised at $40,000 to $55,000 for a mapper. They can't find one at that price.
Okay,
You see what I'm saying?
Brad?
Chairman, let me explain just a little bit. We done interviews and we're through the financial management, the issue of the wage compensation survey and what it's going to consist of. It is a very valuable tool for the director and for us. It will be comparison of agencies around you, agencies within the region, agencies from counties of like popularity we have, compare apples to apples. Now, we know without a shadow of doubt, there's going to be 1s and 2s that's going to be above you're going to be given a low number, the median, and those that are high. It's up to the commission as to determine what level that they're going to try to keep everybody at. If there's somebody low, then we're going to come up with a plan within 3 or 4 years of how we bring them in line with everybody else. You know, because we don't want a disparity in pay, because losing good personnel, because agencies around us are paying quite a bit more. They will not, we tried to get it done to where we could use it for this budget period. But there was no way conceivably possible. So we're going to go just like the same process. Now, the next budget year, the commission and the office directors and office holders will be armed where they'll know just exactly what they have to deal with in the budget. And it will also include our such things as the conversation, well, we've got a person that got an additional certification. That's part of this survey, is there to make recommendations to the full commission to develop and approve. Every time somebody increases their qualification, here's the X amount of dollars. It's a done deal. It's written by the documents approved by the commission up front. So what that does is it enhances the desire of that person to better their self, and the people of our county gain the value of it. But once we get the survey done, do not expect and do not listen to anybody that says, well, they won't pay. It's going to take them a good 6 to 7 months to digest it.
every bit.
Every bit of it. And if you think anything less than that, you're in the wrong job. Come let me give you mine. Because you're a heck of a lot smarter than I am. Or anybody else, you can't do it. Our school board done it. They left it on the shelf for a year and examined it and tasted it, eat it, and felt it, and smelled it, flexed it, turned it upside down and everything else. And now they put a plan together, which is very workable. And they instituted the raises to bring people from the lower levels up to the median. And they're now leveling out. And you do it over a period of time. It's not an overnight thing. You know.
No.
So, thank you for the time for me to explain that, and that will be a start in the next 30 days for them to get their information from the different employees.
And thank you, Brad.
Thank you, Brad.
Yeah, we appreciate you.
Can we,
Thank you for that. But to answer your question, if we look at that, I'm looking somewhere around $17,000
the year?
for the year additional if the individuals have time enough to move forward and get their qualifications and certain. Are you willing, or do you want to put additional 17,000 under the line items 189 and put it in our minutes to hold that as a addition for adjustments up?
I think it would be a new line item for future endorsements, or,
If it's gonna be a raise for their salary, it has to be in the line item for their salary, because you can't bring their salary from two line items.
even future.
How much did I say, Chris? We need to.
Right around $17,000. And that'll get 6 certifications.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
They start working their certification, of course, you're a director and you're helping them do that and recommending they do that. Pretty soon their salary's gonna be bigger than yours.
Yeah, well, that's just kind of the way it is. I'm not a very low individual. It's
So, I mean,
gonna be like
I think
our
we need
Georgia
to,
counties and,
the more they get, that there should be a percentage also for the director.
well, I don't think they think I run my office very well, Ms. Culver.
You're
I apologize.
Chris, you go up the whole state of Tennessee, he's the lowest paid man that's over the planning commission. Every other county, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 pay. We pay Chris, what is it, 39?
Yeah.
He's not got a raise in,
Well, I didn't get one 5 years, 3 years ago. We got 3 years.
but you went for 10 years, you didn't get one.
Ralph is here, he'll remember back in '98 when I was promised, you take care of this and we're gonna make sure, the budget committee, we'll make sure that you make this amount of money. Well, I took care of it all. Then I had to take a little ride over to across the ocean for a while. And all that money that came in that I was supposed to take care of that went to other places. That would be something for somebody to look at too. And the people wasn't even here got paid that money. But it's neither here nor there, because you know what, I still do it. But anyway,
It's better than it used to be.
Brad, do you want to make that everything?
I'd like to see
But for 1 second, we have a motion on the floor. You have to ask for a friendly amendment to Ms. Cullen.
Okay, what is it?
I would like to see it in writing too. I want to see it, I want to see some more concrete for these guys so we know exactly what this planning board, hey, planning board, they just got this endorsement, we're going to send this on the budget, we're going to get their salaries changed, bam, done. I mean, if you think 17,000, do you think each endorsement's worth $2,500?
Yeah, because if not, they're going to move right across the county line or right across the city line and they go 2 blocks away and get a large increase.
The city got one where Mel shut his place. The city got him. He's making twice as much money there as he was over.
Marcy County got one. Jonesburg got one. Kingston got 2. Tennessee Department of Transportation got 2. So they flutter away fast. It's basically the same thing as what's Randall. It's basically the same thing as the sheriff's department. You know, he starts them off with in the jail. They get that certification, then they go out here and become a road officer. And the next thing you know, they're going just across the bridge and making more money.
Turnovers killing
And poor old Dexter, he's sitting there pulling his hair out. Well, I mean, that's a good idea, Randall, but if you make that motion, that additional 17 will be for certifications this fiscal year that they do, so.
What about existing certifications?
What about what you done 20 years ago, we don't pay for?
No, I'm talking about the certifications I did 2 years ago to become building inspector.
I think when the job study comes through, and I think that's going to change a lot of things.
I do too.
I agree with
Well,
Oh,
can we,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind to make the friendly amendment, but I want to see if we can get it, I just want to see it on paper. I just want to see us have a plan for them and for your office and for future employees. Like, hey, this is your stuff, you know, go get it. More education is power. Info is key.
No, I agree.
So more, and it's better for Carter County. So pay them, I mean, they should get paid to do the job, so. I mean, I'll make that friendly amendment, if you want to see it through.
Carter County is a training ground for these other counties.
I've been fighting this battle for 2 years now. We've spoken, we've done it. I mean, we're doing that payroll study, and that's the only thing that we can do. Everybody knows in here that government works snail's pace. We've done the study, we're gonna put that study in place, we're going, you've already said this.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
we're sitting here beating our brains out on this table and trying to work a budget. And I was on the county commission, and I know what happens to it. It goes before the county commission, and they take this budget, and they pick it apart, and when they get done with it, you've got about a third of what you budget. Then they tell you to work with it. Now, you can sit here and make all the motions you want to make, but you're just wasting your time. You're butting your head against the wall because you're not going to get it passed.
We're going to get the commissioner to vote for it.
I've seen it happen too many times. And they'll come down here and they'll pick out,
You're not gonna have to worry about the commissioners,
pass
full
budget.
commission, because it's not gonna pass budget.
it's not going to even get out of the end of the commission yet they do, but they'll go down here and they'll take life insurance. We'll just drop this from $5,000 life insurance, we'll drop it down here to $1,500. Hey, I've seen it happen, and that's what's going to happen right here. You can sit and make all the amendments to this that you want to make, but you're not going to get it.
I asked for a friendly amendment. I'm not gonna get it or not. Can we move on?
On the friendly amendment, the whole budget,
Yeah, the whole budget.
and he wants to put in
plus-
17,000 for, not unless there's some advantage for the director. I don't see that in 2 years, the people working under you should make more money than you.
Why do you want to discriminate against the director?
I agree that they should get money for what they're doing, but there should be some kind of
You don't
scale.
want to pay?
The hell are you talking about?
You don't want to pay?
We've not even
Y'all fought
discussed
this
this.
deal in the county commission
I'm sorry, guys.
for a year, over $14,000.
You're talking about, what he's talking about are two
We're
different.
talking about two different things, Mr.
Different things.
Two different things.
Okay,
It all comes out of the same pot, is what I'm trying to say.
I'm sure as a commissioner that we cannot mess with line items within the budget. You should know that, Ken. You've been there forever.
Mr. Jenkins, I think you're out of line,
Well,
buddy.
I might be out of line. I've only got a couple more months.
I'll be glad to put 17,000 in, but again, I think there should be some type of percentage for the director.
I think so too.
I'm gonna say one thing, and I'm gonna shut up. That man right there saved about 500 jobs in this county for a whole lot less than $14,000, and never even got a thank you.
Let's move on.
Move on.
Ms. Carter stipulated, ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Carter stipulated.
I'm not really pissing contest here. It's whatever the committee wants to do.
Well, I mean, you
Mr.
made.
Jenkins, I don't like your remarks.
I'm trying to help them out here, sir. I'm trying my best to help them out. We wasn't even talking about his line item.
You're just putting on a show.
Go, Bobby.
Yeah, whatever.
Go, Bobby, did it. Come on, say it.
Like I said, I would accept 17,000 being added, but I think there should be a percentage added back to the director for all the certificates that his employees get.
Once it's in that line item, this board can
if we put that 17,000 in there and request it, I'm gonna have a written policy before our next planning commission meeting, so that will be covered. But, the situation that we're in right now is she won't,
Just put it in the policy and then we'll vote on the policy. Let's just get the money in there right now. It don't matter if it's 5,000 or 17,000. If we don't get it passed, we don't get it passed. But we need to have a plan in place. So if nothing else, if the plan comes in place after this, we make one step further. We have it on paper then. We have it going into the budget. So let's get it, 17,000. And then we'll work on whatever the predicament is.
Here we go again. You do this and then we'll work on it later. I'll accept his
No,
amendment.
I didn't do that last time, and you all know it.
I'll accept his amendment.
Thank you.
okay, friendly amendment was accepted, right? You had the second on the budget.
Yes, I will.
Accepted. So the amendment was accepted by both individuals. Any further discussion? None noted. And this is a roll call vote.
Read the motion again.
Motion is to add additional $17,000 to line item 189, which is other salary and wages, for an increase of $2,500 per certification per individual within this next year.
Not like right now.
That's
No,
just for me and Chris, and that won't do anything for me.
I think he changed it to just add 17,000. We work out the logistics later.
Okay, so just work out the logistics. So take out the line item 189.
Just add 17,000 to your budget for possible increases.
Chris, did you say he was gonna bring that to the next meeting?
Yeah, I got my feeling.
What's that? What you put that go?
Right.
So that'll be additional
Put you on
to
commission.
not to that specific line item. Does that make sense, Ms. Collins? You good with that?
It makes sense.
Is it gonna be a different line?
Just an additional 17,000 for certifications.
Certification. Everyone's good with that change? It is budgetary, and this is the plan we have today. And it will be a roll call vote. Mr. Pierman?
Yes.
Mr. Watson?
Yeah.
Mr. Arney?
Yes.
Ms. Keller?
Yes.
Mr. Jenkins?
Yes.
Mr. Akers still is not here. Ms. Deeds?
Yes.
Ms. Collins? She gets a three-way sword, you know. It's like a triad. She's on the budget committee. For those of you that didn't know. No? Okay.
Not to more specific.
Okay. Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Lyons? I'm sorry. Mr. Chair, that's unanimous. Please proceed from the vote. Thank you, sir. Yeah.
And I want to make it known, I want you all to get this, but we'll have to be,
And that's why I want everybody to know that you're on the budget committee too. And I understand the situation.
I've never seen any other county board say that.
If I may, I'll go ahead and put that in form of a motion that you bring forth a plan for percentage increase for the director as well as monetary increase for the certifications for the directors.
I second the motion.
I got a motion by Ms. Culler, seconded by Ralph Watson. Bring the plan forward, but also add additional pay to the director's line.
You want to put a percentage on that? No, he can work it out.
I'll work on it.
For each certification, he would, there's some percentage or something. Bring some plans and we'll discuss it next month.
Any further discussions?
when do you have to turn your budget in? Which I should have
Another
that.
meeting. It's gonna be turned in, February, I think, 17th.
So we
We
won't,
won't know,
we
man.
won't get to vote on.
The specifics, just the 17,000.
Just the 17th, and I'll make sure that I discuss it with the finance director that we place in a proper line item that we can be manipulated for all my inspectors. And it'll be in a payroll line item, not a bonus.
Mr. Chair, or Mr. Director, that by that time, it is also going to be a topic for financial management as this get in this next meeting to look at the compensations for specifically that. The issue is that we don't have a policy in this county in place to cover such things. So that's what our intentions is, to start right in the base, identifying it, and getting it into the policy of the full commission. And that way, if we can get our finance director for a different line item to hold it, I'm going to say reserve, and as they make it, that we can award them, or anybody else in any other department in this county, for going the extra step. Okay.
Very good. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Mr. Chairman, that is unanimous. Is there? And I'll make sure I have that. And as soon as I get a rough draft, that I'll get it to you together. All right. In accordance with what we have going on as far as the study financial management is doing on the job studies, I went ahead and got our summaries of our job descriptions for our planning commission, our office of planning commission. And this is a total scope of what our job descriptions are as stated and as of today. And this is basically just for your information, and whenever the group comes in that's looking for our descriptions of our job, I'll be able to hand them instantly what the job descriptions are. If you want to study these, I appreciate it. If you have any questions, you give me a call, and we can go ahead and move forward. Sir? Oh, I'm sorry. So if you will, take a moment and look at those. I appreciate it. All right, next item on the agenda is item number 10, Jack Hampton's report.
All right, we'll go over November and December since we didn't meet in December. November, we wrote 9 residential new permits, which totaled $10,818. In December, we wrote 1, which totaled $1,118. We did 2 residentials in November, which totaled $918. We had 4 detached accessories in November, which was $190. And then we did 3, which was $175 in December. We had no pools, surprising. We had 1 modular in December, which was $73. We had 4 manufactured permits, which totaled $225 in November. And we had 5 manufactured in December, which totaled $325. We had 2 commercials in November, which was $225, and 2 commercials in December, which was $50. We had 1 agriculture in December, and those are no charge, so it shows a 0 under it. We had 2 stormwaters in November, which was $150, and 3 in December, which was $200. We had 2 temporaries in November, which was $100. We had 3 certificate of occupancies in November, which was $150, and 4 in December, which totaled $200. No communication towers, and those are starting to come in. The upgrades are starting to pour in. I think we've got 2 open right now. We had 3 floodplain development fees in November, which was $225. No rezones, no plat reviews, no BOZs. We had 10 business licenses in November, which was 50, and 14 in December, which was 70. And we had 25 archive fees in November, which was $125, and 17 in December, which was 80. And then we go down to our electric permits. We wrote 58, and we got to keep 290, and this was November's, I'm sorry, I should have said that, and 6,025 went to the state. And then we did 56 in December. We kept 275, $3,955 went to the state. And then that number, like Chris said, it's gonna start changing. It'll go down because some electricians are gonna start pulling online. But we still have the ability, that's why we have the iPad now. We have the ability to write them if they come in. So it's really gonna depend on, we won't know how that's gonna go till next month. But that number's probably gonna go down.
Any questions or concerns? None noted. Next item will be code enforcement officer's report.
The first one, we had a stop work order at, on Garrison Hollow. This was 290 Garrison Hollow. They had been logging there, and a couple of residents had called and said the road was a mess. So we went up there and looked at it. We posted a stop work order. They ended up putting up silk fencing and some rock at the bottom, and they cleaned out the tile because it was completely stopped up with mud. So that one, that was taken care of and it's stabilized. The next one is, go ahead. It's going to be Lee Skillet. This is one, I went back yesterday and checked this one. I sent them a letter in November. I had a guy call that lived up the road and was screaming at the top of his lungs. He was so upset about the dirt. And so I went and checked it. I sent a letter. They have put a tile, if you can see it, like in the middle of the driveway. It's really odd. And so they haven't really stabilized anything. So this is one that we're probably going to go post a civil penalty on, which would be $50 a day from the receipt of notice of when we mailed it. So this one will probably get a civil penalty. And we've had really good luck with having people fix them after we served them with that. We had one, I think, that was in violation for years, and he ended up fixing it when we served him. He was up to $7,000 in a civil penalty, and he fixed it. And so it was fine. So this is probably going to be another one that we have to look at. Chris and I actually rode up, and there was some tents, right, Chris? And some other things up there as well. So that's probably something we need to go a little bit further and post as well. And then the next one is, sorry, I keep on messing it up. This one is Whitehead Hill. This was the junkyard as you turn off of Whitehead Hill. Mel had went by there and spoke to the lady, and she said they were hauling out cars. They were selling cars to OmniSource, and so it had made a huge difference with all the 18-wheelers going in and out, in and out. And Mel went and talked to her, and she said she would fix it. And then
But she didn't.
she didn't. So I went back and I talked to her and told her, you know, if you don't get it fixed, we're going to have to go the civil penalty route. So within a week, they had it fixed, and this is now stabilized, and it's good, so it's fine. And the next one is Shell Creek. This is when Mel and I were actually up in Shell Creek, and we drove by and seen they had been logging at the top, and a couple that lives, I think, in Florida, I'm not 100% sure, bought this land sight unseen, and they're having it logged. And eventually, they're going to build a home up there. But they had hired a logging company, and they just kind of let it go. But that's been fixed. It's no longer running off the road. It's stabilized, and it's good. And this is just some extra pictures of it. And he also cleaned out the tile. It was a little stopped up. So I think the rest of them's going to be Jay's.
And it seems to be an ongoing problem with loggers that we don't charge a permit for them logging. We're charging a stormwater permit for stuff like this where they're coming out onto the road and you go by there and there's mud half a mile up and down the road. That's what, the stormwater permit is to get them to do the best management practices at the road, at the highway, on their log deck that they built. We had one guy call and yesterday and complained for 15 minutes because he had to get a stormwater permit because we told him that he had to go to T-Deck to get their permission to cross the stream. A whole lot of these streams, you get up Fort Drum Mountain and most all those streams have all kinds of different fish in them. One log truck going through that road, through that stream, probably just killed everything in it. Red clay is deadly to trout. That's why we do all this with the stormwater permits where they're logged.
As far as litter code goes, have had a pretty decent cleanup on the Storyland property. He spent some time in the county detention center, and unfortunately, due to negligence on the part of the jail, I'm assuming he wasn't allowed to go clean his property while he was, the attachment warrant stated Mr. Story was to leave the jail at 8, come back at 6, Monday through Saturday. When he was arrested, he was not allowed out, so he couldn't really clean. It took us about 9 days to get that figured out. I had him in jail on Christmas. I kind of felt like Ebenezer or something. Like I felt bad for him. But anyways, he has since cleaned drastically on Water Plant Road and Gap Creek. If you see, he's got rid of some tenants that were the cause of the problem, and we're continuing to monitor him and get his stuff done. Otherwise, it's been relatively slow the last month. This is on 3rd Avenue in Hampton. Guy came in, your typical complaint, why do I have to mow my yard? He told me he'd owned it for like 6 months. Mel and I looked, he'd owned it for a year and a half, and his yard was just, it was awful. And he said he's gonna mow it once, what'd he say, once a month, once a quarter, I don't know what he said. He didn't take us very serious, so we'll keep an eye on him. Nets Drive, this is out near Milligan College, had some tire issues, several trash issues up there. Midway Drive, this is actually, the lady that owns these called, the tenants made a mess. They talked to Kristen. She told us to come back out in a couple of days and be fixed, and it was pretty much completely fixed in about 2 or 3 days. Here's an issue on Shell Creek we've been keeping an eye on, and here's one on Long Hollow with some untagged vehicles and some mess. 48 hours that we sent are to Spring Street, Pearl Bowers. There are maybe a few more on here before this that I hadn't noted. 119 Pearl Bowers should be cleaned up soon because the landlord has evicted the tenants that were causing the mess. Now, I got an interesting phone call last week saying a specific property, Stony Creek on Creekside Drive. I was told that we were doing a very poor job keeping the cleanup of this piece of property. 127 Creekside Drive is owned by an elderly lady named Mary Pierce. Her grandson lives with her, who is an abusive, if I could use the terms that I would like to use, is not a very good young man. And he abuses his grandmother's sympathy, or hospitality rather, not sympathy. So every time I go up there, it's different. So one day it's clean, the next day they might have a couple untagged vehicles. Never really more than 3 untagged vehicles at any time. The neighbor calls and tells me how poor of a job I'm doing up there. He does have some work vehicles in the back that he wants to work on, some classics that I don't want to, they have some memories from Dad and whatnot. And that's just one of the, I want to tell you, when I get a call about how poor I'm doing, and the situation is not, it's fluid, it's always changing. And then also at the commission meeting last time, we had one of the individuals who, on public comments, also kind of railed me real good that I wasn't doing a good job as well. And I wanted to explain to you all in that conversation that the gentleman I have talked to one time, and he did not give me anything specific other than the house that burned down in Stony Creek up near Beulah Dean's store. That's the only one he gave me, and he made it sound like he'd really been working with me, and that was just not accurate. I've seen him one time, and the general thing was clean up all of Stony Creek. And the stock will tell you we're trying, but it's a little slow going. That's it for my show. I did want to say, to bring some brevity to this rather heated meeting here, I won't be here next planning commission because I'm adding another member to my family. I'm not, my wife is. We're having a child on the 18th of February, unless he comes sooner. So I'll be missing at least next commission meeting.
That's not a valid excuse to miss planning.
So I just wanted to let you all know that I will be here for the next one.
Thank you. Sir?
Do we have any litigation around it?
Yes. Currently, at this current juncture, there are I don't have any in the process as far as court dates and whatnot. There are some that will be there, but right now, no, there is not.
And we have a rather large number of cases with no valid serving on the property owners.
Right.
One in particular on Siam Road that we discovered, it's on the tax sale for March. You know, the owners are deceased. You know, hopefully that one will sell at the tax sale, then it'll be, you know, new owner will clean it up.
There's a lot of properties out there, little cousin Willie lives in. He doesn't really have any funds for it anyways. So-
And when I take that before the judge, that's what the judge claims. There's no, without service, without whatever, there's nothing we can do.
So we did have one on Siam that we did vote to clean up, so we did forward to that this month. Just in case they pay the property. Pursue.
Anything else?
Any further for code enforcement, director's report, as far as our rezone requests from this previous year, they all went through the Carter County Commission meeting before last, went through public hearings, everything was good to go. Moving forward, especially with the new industry. He's getting his compliance letters right now from Tennessee Department of Environmental Conservation. Hopefully that will put about 12 people to work. So that'd be great. And our other work that we've done with some other small industries will probably move forward right here in the next few months. So we're looking at that. And I've got a pretty big plate field to handle and get it back to you guys for the next meeting. So that's all I have as far as the record. Is there any public quarters, Mrs. Cannon?
No, sorry.
No public quarters requested.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion made by Mr.
Second. Wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
You second? Jury?
Sanjay.
Sorry, Mary, motion. Jury seconds. Any discussion? None seen, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign.